Hello everyone, welcome back. Savages here, coming back with the new part of What If Deku Had Deadly Sentencing. Now, last part, where we last left off, Midoriya has went ahead with the rest of his class to the USJ, and after taking Kurogiri into court and realizing who he really is, he of course told those informations to Aizawa and the police officers, not to forget the detective, Sukauchi. And then, well, all of the students went back to their homes except Midoriya, that was taken away into the police station. And before we get right into it, don't forget to tell me down in the comments what you think about this part and what are your thoughts and opinions, and well, let's just begin. As Midoriya and the chief of police, Detective Sukauchi, and Aizawa are all together talking, and they ask Midoriya a few questions, and Midoriya answers each and every last one of their questions about who is, of course, Kurogiri, and revealing that he is actually Ubero Shirokuma, and Aizawa immediately questions the, honesty of Midoriya and what if he's just imagining things, but Midoriya told him that it doesn't matter. There is no mistakes. Lady Justice makes zero mistakes. If she says that that person is Ubero Shirokuma, then he is Ubero Shirokuma. And Aizawa just finds it hard to believe. Midoriya then proceeded to tell him about the crime that he was accused of inside of his space, be it public indecency in UA at this specific day of this year, which Aizawa remembers. That day, it is true, but it just doesn't make sense. Ubero's quirk is nothing like Kurogiri's. But then the detective, of course, thanks Midoriya for all the information he was provided, and tells him that, thanks to him, maybe they have uncovered a bigger case than they first thought, as Midoriya just tells him that he's happy to help, and of course also Aizawa tells him, he thanks Midoriya for his support and everything, and if he ever finds anything more about Kurogiri to immediately tell him if that lady of his has any more information, which Midoriya told Aizawa that sadly, since Kurogiri is no longer here, he can't accuse him of any more crimes, but if the chance ever presented itself, he'll make sure to take him into court. With that being said, Midoriya left back home, and after 2 weeks, all of UA students get ready for the sport festival. Right now, Midoriya and the rest of Class 1A with the rest of the students from UA are standing in front of Midnight as she gives a speech before telling Baku to come here and give his speech to the people as the first place winner of the entrance exam. And after he just claims that he will be victorious, everybody yelling at them, and eventually everyone gets ready for the first part of the sport festival, the obstacle course, as Midoriya starts stretching while still holding into his gavel. Of course, it's a part of his quirk, so no need to take it as a support item. He gets ready and he notices something. They talked about the obstacles, but then there's this doorway. It seems very narrow, and he wonders if this is the actual first obstacle. And so he proceeded to wait. And when the bell rings and everybody starts running in, Midoriya didn't run in immediately. He watches and notices how everyone gets stuck on the door frame because it's so narrow and there are so many students. So immediately he grabs his gavel, increases the length of the handle without increasing the size of the head, and proceeds to use it as a pole to jump over everyone while simultaneously extending it, shooting himself forward. Along with that, he followed simultaneously Todoroki freezing the ground and everyone's feet with it. But Midoriya was in the middle of the air by that time, as then he lands safely on the ground, and him and Todoroki are right now running side by side, fighting for first place, while the rest of the students are following shortly after. As Midoriya and Baku just fighting alongside Todoroki for first place, suddenly all three of them stop dead in their tracks as they see a bunch of zero-pointers. And Midoriya is looking up at them saying, "Oh, are you kidding me? What am I supposed to do against these?" As immediately, Baku just flies up into the sky to blow their heads off, while Todoroki beside Midoriya, he takes a step forward saying, "What's the matter? Are they too big to fit in your court? Or their charges are not as severe as you hoped?" And Midoriya just has a weird look on his face about Todoroki's little snarky remark of Midoriya's powers. Regardless, he proceeded to freeze the entire robot solid, and immediately proceeded to continue running. As Midoriya is seeing the robot about to fall, he again uses his gavel as a pull and shoots himself forward to save himself from dying, basically. After that, all three of them keep fighting for the first place, but as Midoriya watches Todoroki and Bakugo fighting for first place, he decided to stay out of their battle, because it's not wise. He will let them fight it out, and he'll just keep a safe distance. As Midoriya keeps his distance, he watches as the second obstacle presents itself, being the deadly pit. As Midoriya sees Bakugo just flying over, Todoroki sliding on the, lines and wires connecting all of the little platforms together. While Midoriya watching this, he just sighs a little and puts his gavel, holding it with both hands and extending it, using it again as a pull to allow himself to jump over all of these platforms from platform to the other until he finally crosses it. As he keeps running, he is faced with a few robots, 1-pointers, 2-pointers, and 3-pointers. This time, since he has a gavel with him, it doesn't matter. He crushes them with ease. Even when a robot tried to attack him, he just throws the gavel at him in a very fast pace and summon it back to his hand as he throws it back again, almost like a Gatling gun of sort, just only limited by how fast Midoriya can throw and summon it. With that being said, the final obstacle presents itself, being the Minefield, as Katsuki, Bakugo, and Todoroki are fighting for first place, going back and forth, and the rest of the students are immediately jumping in the Minefield. Midoriya just looks beneath his feet, seeing all the mines, but he doesn't jump immediately. This is his chance, the chance to get Bakugo and Todoroki out of this match and the race, and so he lifts his gavel up in the air, extending the handle of it while simultaneously increasing the size of the head, as then it's so long it could reach Katsuki and Todoroki, as then he just lowers his hand as the gavel goes slamming down, and Todoroki and Bakugo see it going down at both of them, as immediately they both go into opposite directions to save themselves. But the thing is, Midoriya wasn't aiming for them. He was aiming for this mine beneath their feet as it explodes, sending them both flying into opposite directions. And Midoriya, while the head is still hitting the ground, he immediately shrinks the gavel, but not in the normal way. He shrinks it in a way that allows him to be pulled towards the head of the gavel by shrinking the handle of it and still holding into it, which allows him to, basically cross all the distance and into the finish, as Bakugo and Todoroki are trying to follow slowly after him, but it's too late. He's already ahead of them, and just to keep it safe, he uses his gavel to close off the door by extending it into both directions, and then he crosses the finish line, getting first place as Todoroki gets second and Bakugo in third, which is very infuriating. Regardless, as Midoriya wins, everybody starts cheering, and, the second part of the sport festival begins, being the Cavalry battle. The Cavalry battle was a very easy match, honestly. Didn't take a lot from Midoriya. All what he had to do is just make a team, and he did have a team. A good team made up of Araka, of course Tokuyami, and not to forget Miyahatsumi, that offered her technology and invention, which was something that Midoriya found useful since it could help them very much so. In conjunction with his own gavel, not to mention that Midoriya has Lady Justice behind of his back. They may not be able to, he may not be able to walk on the ground, but she definitely does. Though no one really knows what she does exactly. She just stands there as Midoriya's team is fighting for their lives and their points, and everybody attacking them while they play the defensive part. But as they do, Lady Justice just keeps counting. She counts every time they are getting attacked. They don't know what she's counting for, but she is counting. And eventually, as Todoroki managed to grab the 10 million headband off of Midoriya's head, then he hears a sound that drops dead on top of him. A sound of somebody saying 3. As in that moment he feels a weight on top of his body, as then Midoriya said, "Now!" And all of his team going ahead at Todoroki, and Midoriya manages to grab the headband, the 10 million headband off of Todoroki back again. And, everyone of Todoroki's team is wondering what's the matter with Todoroki, but he doesn't know why. He felt so tired for a second there, but now he feels okay. Sadly, the match has already stopped after President Mike just tell everyone that time's up. Sadly, Bakugo could not join in on Midoriya's and Todoroki's little scuffle. Midoriya jumps off the back of his team as Lady Justice just disappears into dark tar and, well, is gone. Everyone is impressed by Midoriya's tactical mind and, well, composure under pressure, which helped him plan ahead, though they're still wondering what was that with Lady Justice, and what did he exactly do, and how did he expect Todoroki not to use his quirk. Midoriya answers her question by saying that those were classified informations. Anoraka is pouting a bit in annoyance at Midoriya's gatekeeping informations per usual. Tokuyami, however, understands that Midoriya doesn't want to reveal all the secrets of his quirk, so he does not push him any further on any information. Mei Hatsumi have already left. After which, all of the students go ahead and have 10 minutes rest for lunchtime. As everyone goes and having their lunch, Midoriya is stopped by Todoroki and brought away into, well, a tunnel. As him and Todoroki are face to face, and Midoriya is wondering what does Todoroki wants from him, as Todoroki start talking about how impressive Midoriya is and how mysterious his power are. He is very smart not to reveal his strength because it seems that it has more than just a gavel. Even Todoroki doesn't understand the full extent of it, and Midoriya is still wondering what is Todoroki is talking about. But then he starts talking about his story, explaining the reason why he's here, and the fact that he still needs to beat Endeavor, to show him that he can win the sport festival using only his mother's quirk, and not his fire. As Midoriya hearing all of this, understanding the truth of Endeavor, the truth of Todoroki, it's still much. But then he realizes something. He told Todoroki that both of them, they couldn't be any different. While Todoroki is constantly trying to get on his father and hate him with all of his guts, with an ironically fiery passion, Midoriya, on the other hand, used his own father's death that he loved so deeply as a motivation to ensure such thing never happened again. And since Todoroki has already shared his subby little backstory with Midoriya, Midoriya did share his own as well. Seems like it's the law of equivalent exchange after all. He told him about the fact that he had a normal dad that always gone on, work trips, and he always loved him. Sometimes he buys him some All Might merch and stuff like that. But then one day he was accused of a murder he never committed of a woman and a child, and eventually was found guilty for that crime that he didn't commit, and executed in prison. And then 2 months later they find the actual culprit, and, his father was still dead by then. And the worst part about it, that the culprit that was the reason and the person who killed those people, instead of having death, he just got a life imprisonment. As Midoriya just thinks of it, it disgusts him. The idea that they will let the murderer alive, living rotting away in prison while his father had to die. What kind of justice is that? And that's why he swore that he will gonna work in order to make this world better, because the justice that this world provides is false. Prosecutors forging fake evidence, judges taking bribes. It's all just so disgusting to him, and that's why his justice is the only true justice. Regardless, with all of that being said, Midoriya just tells Todoroki that if he wants to put some charges on his dad, he will have to wait a few years when Midoriya graduates and becomes an actual lawyer, and then he can certainly pull some charges on them. But if he wants, Midoriya can hook him up with a good enough lawyer. He knows a few names. Todoroki told him that he doesn't matter to him. All what it matters is that he shows everyone that he can defeat Midoriya and everyone else in the sport festival using only his eyes. He can win this. But Midoriya warned him that it won't be so easy. He'll make sure of it. Regardless, with all of that being said, the final matches start. Midoriya's first match is against Hitoshi Shinso, that first started by talking shit about Midoriya and his friends and whatnot, but Midoriya does not falter. He have been told by Ujiro about little Shinso's powers and not to answer his questions, and Midoriya is a very composed person, so he just used his gavel and hit him outside of the ring, immediately winning his first match. In the next match, however, against Todoroki, Midoriya was stopped in the hallway by Endeavor. As Midoriya looks at Endeavor, and Endeavor immediately introduces himself and talks to Midoriya, saying, "So, you are Izuku Midoriya." As Midoriya just looks at Endeavor, his newfound knowledge of the second hero disgusts him, and it makes him want to immediately use his powers on him, and the fact that he keeps talking is not helping, because Endeavor starts talking to Midoriya, telling him that Todoroki is a little arrogant, and right now he's a little rebellious, but eventually he'll need to understand, and Midoriya's role in this fight is to force Todoroki to use his fire. And as he basically ordered Midoriya to do so, he starts walking away, leaving Midoriya to go continue his match, but then he stopped in his track as Midoriya said, "You know, Endeavor, child abuse is a really serious crime," as Endeavor looks over his shoulder at Midoriya, but Midoriya doesn't turn around. Endeavor just stares at Midoriya's back as the place suddenly feels darker, the air feels heavier, and the sound of gavel can be heard in the distance. As Midoriya continues speaking, saying, "That alone could land you a very hefty verdict and a very hefty punishment. But family abuse?" As then the place turns dark and he can hear the guillotine hitting someone's head. He feels it right on his neck as Midoriya looks over his shoulder and the place growing darker and darker. And he swears that he just sees this long, towering lady looking down at him, judging his every move as Midoriya continues saying, "It's a really bad crime." And then suddenly, everything stops. Everything goes back to normal. Was that just an illusion? Was he imagining? Midoriya looks still, looking over his shoulder at, Endeavor. He then looks forward and says, "I suggest you start looking back on your record, Enji Todoroki. You're lucky you're a hero, and you're lucky that I'm still a student, because if it wasn't for those two factors, I would have put you in court and hoped on your downfall. So I suggest you atone for what you've done. Alas, the hammer of justice will reach you one day." As he just continued walking forward, leaving Endeavor to question what the hell was that? What the hell was any of that? What the hell is Izuku Midoriya? Regardless, Midoriya goes and their match starts. Him and Todoroki immediately start fighting. Or at least that's what Todoroki hoped, because Midoriya just keep dodging. He summoned Lady Justice behind of him, and, she's standing outside of the ring, though. He wonders why. He wonders what's his plan. He wonders what's her purpose. As Todoroki just keep watching Midoriya just dodging, using his gavel to break the ice as it gets closer to him, while talking to Todoroki, telling him that he still hasn't landed a single hit on him. "What's the matter? Didn't you say you're gonna win with only your ice?" And Todoroki just yelling at Midoriya, telling him that he's not gonna use his fire, but eventually Midoriya speaks up, saying that it's not his quirk, it's yours. It's your power. Use your quirk to win, Todoroki. And Todoroki suddenly gets a realization. As Midoriya keeps yelling at him, telling him that, what he's doing is a crime in his own self, and that Todoroki doesn't deserve to be facing punishment inside of Midoriya's court, because he doesn't deserve to even step in it, since he's already seemingly punishing himself for existing. And that sparks a light in Todoroki's heart, and so it did spark his flame as he prepared to use his final attack with a sickening grin on his face. Midoriya watching this as he said, "Finally. Now this could be interesting." As Todoroki launches his ice and fire simultaneously, Cemento's creating a giant barrier, but in that moment, Midoriya opens his domain, and Todoroki is immediately caught in it. and in a second all of the light show stopped, but then, almost like it despawns, no light, no flashes, the black dome just disappeared and Todoroki standing there. And in his haze and confusion on where did his attack go, Midoriya hits him with the gavel and out of the ring, immediately winning. But after which he goes ahead and gives Todoroki a hand to help him stand up, but Todoroki did not take it. He just left and goes start questioning himself about what happened. About everything. With that being said, Midoriya just left him to think for himself. Because now he has a match. After 5 minutes, Midoriya enters the ring against Katsuki Bakugo as Bakugo clenches his fist and cracks his knuckles. He said, "Finally, I get to beat your ass and no one will tell me no. Let's see how well you act and how well you fight when you're not inside your little court, huh, Ace Attorney?" As Midoriya looks at Bakugo and says, "You know, that little nickname of yours really doesn't work as an insult. It's more of a compliment, really." And Bakugo just scoffs at that, saying it doesn't matter. He's still gonna beat him up. And Midoriya just, well, holds his gavel above his head, saying, "We'll see." As immediately, President Mike starts the match and Bakugo goes for an immediate finisher. He knows that he needs to take Midoriya out quickly, and so he does. He flies up in the air as he goes down, spinning, saying, "How, sir?" As Midoriya is just standing there, lifting up his gavel as he said, "Everyone calms down." As he slams his gavel down and suddenly the entire place is engulfed in a dark dome. Not just Bakugo is taken inside of a dark dome, but the entire stadium, and everyone sees Midoriya and Bakugo standing across each other on pedestals where Bakugo's explosion just disappears and everyone sees the guillotines and hear the sounds of the gavel and the light flashes until it's finally just two lights pointing on both of them as Midoriya stops slamming his gavel, saying, "Court is now in session." And this is gonna leave it off, guys. Don't forget to tell me down in the comments what you think about this part and what you think gonna happen in the next part. Well, I have nothing more to say then. Savage was here.